Thank you for staying here on Joy News today. Now, Minister for Education, Dr. Matthew OpokuPremp, has challenged the Ghana Education Service to show evidence of the impact of government investment in the service through improvement in the performance of students in examination. Dr. Prempe today opened the maiden Ghana Education Evidence Summit, seeking to bring together researchers to present findings on ways of improving the quality of education.
Low learning outcomes, absenteeism, inadequate resources, and low time on task continue to remain our serious concern. Low resources is not leaving us soon. And that is why evidence is so important. We must invest the little that we have in things that work, not things that will change our mind 3 years down the lane. The government is resolved to support to deal with these challenges by increasing teacher motivation and resource education, certainly to improve learning outcomes in Ghanaian schools. It is not only teacher motivation and resource allocation that matters. Ghana Education Service must reinvent itself to be accountable to the general populace that what we have done this year, this is what we have achieved. I want a Ghana Education Service that is going to tell us, we took these number of Ghanaian children through this examination, this is the pass rate this year, and show consistently serious increase in the pass rate, and better pass rates, not C6s. That doesn't take you anywhere. We will liaise with all actors, including development partners, donors and civil society organizations, to design and implement interventions that will inure to our educational goals. I think one thing we can all agree, there's no single country in the world where the educational goal is not about quality. It's how we define our quality and what we do about it that matters. Goal 4, maybe I'll be short, of the United Nations Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals include education as one of its key priorities and stresses the need to ensure an inclusive, equitable, high-quality education for all. Target 1 talks about rights to secondary education. Okay, we'll talk about that later. To achieve this goal as a nation, the government of Ghana is collaborating with various partners to implement major programs and interventions. I wouldn't belabor the point with our free SHS and the mainstreaming of TVET. Government is committed to teacher education and learning outcomes. TTEL is important, but we must see the end of TTEL so that we can move to implementation. TTEL cannot be with us and hop from one area to area. We need to end and implement something if we are learning from TTEL. We are also committed to improving access to and quality of senior high schools through a secondary education improvement project, improving early grade reading or early grade literacy and numeracy, mainstreaming out-of-school children through CBE and sustaining that program, and implementing more efficient management systems in our schools.
Away from education, let's focus on security. Security analyst Dr. Ansakwe is asking the New Patriotic Party to crack the whip on members of the pro-vigilante group Delta Force that attacked the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator, George J. About 200 members of the group last week assaulted Mr. J because they claimed he did not help in the fight for the party's victory. Speaking with me on News Desk, Mr. Quay also commended the police for intervening early.
Political parties must be held accountable. Civil society must be much more active in condemning these activities, and the law enforcement agencies must prosecute. Simple. Yes. The president may decide to speak to them, not publicly, but privately. But the party structure must be in control of their people. These are not acting as personal agents of the president. They are acting as supposed agents of the party. And the party must disown them or bring them under reign, bring them under control. So I think there's enough that needs to be done. And I don't really share the sentiment that the way out is the president come and publicly condemn them. I think that has not happened, and I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. I think he's come close enough to condemn such. And in fact, in his speech on this, he did ask the law enforcement agencies to stick to the rule of law. So that should be done. They may have a case that they don't really favor the appointee, the one appointed. That's very legitimate, if that is their feeling. But in every system, there are ways and means of going through this. You go through the right channel to seek redress, to seek his withdrawal. They disregarded the right channels and resorted to violence, physical assault, attack, destruction of property. So the way out is prosecution. If some is one or two are prosecuted, or all of them are prosecuted, and they suffer the consequence for these criminal activities, the rest will learn the lesson. Because they will see that the party, the presidency, their service to the party in times past would not save them. And therefore, this will come to a halt.
All right. Dr. Quay, you're a security analyst, not a sociologist, but I just want your opinion on this. Some have also raised the arguments that these young men will end up in vigilantism because there are no jobs. They don't have anything to do. For example, if they had jobs, or if they were sitting in offices or performing a certain, profession, or engaged in a certain skill or anything, then they wouldn't be where they were.
I don't share that argument. As a matter of fact, some of them have jobs. Some of those mentioned, one has been mentioned to be a mechanic. So they have their own jobs. So I don't think that unemployment is what led them to that sort of thing. Yeah, no, not
so what exactly is leading people to vigilantism then?
The failure of local parties to be in control. Ignorance. Like I said, I spoke about what ex-President Obama said, that in Africa we need to build institutions. And our parties are not being well built. In fact, this is the genesis of civil war. Because groups like this actually resort to violence anytime, and then before you realize they have actually gone violent, the nation would be on flame. So there's the need to act the right way towards things like this. And I think prosecution is the way out. I don't think that unemployment is the reason for that sort of thing at all. But parties are not in control. They must be prosecuted.
Meanwhile, Public Relations Officer for the police in the Ashanti region, ASP Yawin Ketiayabwa, tells Joe News the police are working hard to bring the perpetrators to book.
Anybody who is criminally associated with that act, we will ensure that he is brought to book as stipulated by the laws of the Republic of Ghana. The Ashanti Regional Police Commander, DCOP Kenyebua, has come out to appeal to them to report themselves to help in investigation. In other words, those who wanted members of that illegal group to report themselves. Like the last three reported themselves, the last three on the press release, but the first two were arrested by the police. They should take a cue from the last three and report themselves. If they don't do that, then wherever they are, we smoke them out and continue with the investigation.
Well, still on this issue, the Ashanti Regional Chapter, Ashanti Regional Chairman of the Peace Council, Seth Opuni Asiama, has charged the police to prosecute the culprits.
Two Accra-based philanthropists, Dixon Entry and Yvonne Baltimore, say they were touched by the
Ultimately, what I have decided to do is to adopt her as my own daughter. Too much of these arrests that we don't hear anything about. Let the police take us, let the IGP show that there's law and order in this country. Let him show that he's in charge, he's in control. Let us prosecute these people to serve as an example to all others, not only MPP vigilante groups, but NDC vigilante groups, and all people who think that there's no law in this country, therefore they can do what they like. Let us show some example so that anybody will realize that Ghana is not just a democratic country, we're also a peaceful country where people can come and do their business and go away peacefully. What we saw on Friday, I'm sure somebody sent it to me through WhatsApp. I'm sure it's now all over the world. Investors are looking at it and so on. If you can do this to a person appointed by the president himself, who else is above it? And so I think that we need to do something about this.
You say that the president must show leadership. What exactly do you want the president to do?
I want the president to come out personally to tell Ghanaians that he does not subscribe to whatever is going on, and to warn the people who are using the face of the MPP to do these things that it is not on, that he will not hesitate to punish anybody who does things like that. Otherwise, a time may come when people may say, and this morning, to tell you the truth, I heard it on one FM station. A lady called into the station and was trying to, as it were, put the blame on what happened on Friday on all the vigilante groups on the president. And I thought, Sabin, I don't know whether I can say this, but I can't say opinion of Trefima and Kolare Nankano. Yabuna Yakai Nankarefua, Yabunu Kahon. And I think Nana, the president, should come out forcefully.
That was the chair of the Ashanti Regional Chapter of the Peace Council, Seth Opunie-Isiama, speaking on the Delta Force attack that occurred. Apologies for the wrong video clip we showed you earlier. Now, the story of a 14-year-old girl defiled by 5 men, abused physically and dumped in a stream at Nkoko in the eastern region has been attracting support from the public. The girl is battling complications and psychological trauma. Some philanthropists have been coming through for her with cash donations and offers of counseling. 3 people over the weekend donated 2,000 Ghana cedis and $500 US. Some have also been presenting food items to the victim. Part of the donation is expected to cover treatment and other medical expenses of the victim. Ohiming Teria reports.
2 Accra-based philanthropists, Dixon Entry and Von Baltimore, say they were touched by the plight of the poor girl.
Ultimately, what I have decided to do is to adopt her as my own daughter. She's 14 years old. I have discussed with the granny who is taking care of her that they should take her to a vocational school, because apparently she cannot go back to school, the normal school system again. So she has to learn a trade from which she can feed herself going into the future. So they would go to a vocational school here in Nkoko to inquire about options that are available to her. And once she decides on which one she wants to pursue, it will be my pleasure to support her with the fees and feeding and clothing, or whatever it takes to help her complete her education.
Mr. Entry, who donated $500 US, commended the multimedia group for highlighting the plight of the poor girl and other social issues in the country. He also praised the Nkoko police for the attention they have given to the case.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the police and also the multimedia group for the work done so far. You know, oftentimes we tend to undermine the work of the police by not giving them the necessary support. In this case, in Nkoko, in Accra, in Ghana, we have seen what the police can do.
Imagine your child going to school and never returning home. That's the story of Alexander Boateng and wife, residents of Ablekuma in the Greater Accra region. Yesterday, their house help, 18-year-old Grace Sarkodie, picked their 2-year-old son from the Silicon Valley School at Oyarifa and have still not gotten home. The Ghanaian police has been on the ground searching for both boy and house help since the case was reported to them yesterday. Alexander joins me on the phone lines with some details. Good afternoon, Alexander. Sorry about this bad news, but what is the latest on investigations so far?
I've just gotten the news that the lady has been arrested, so we are heading towards the Nya police station to meet the lady there.
And the lady you mean is your house help, Grace Sarkodie?
Yes, the house help, yes.
All right. And has she been found with the child?
No.
Okay, then let's talk about what the relationship was between the house help and your son, or your family and the house help.
Okay. The house help is a good friend of my uncle. Both come from Kou and Teso. So it's through my uncle that I got to know them. So the father herself brought her personally to Accra in November 2016.
All right, Alexander, has the house help, Grace Sarkodie, has she been saying anything? I know you just mentioned that she's been picked up by the police, but have they been telling you what she's been saying?
I asked them, they said we should all meet at the police station. So in the next 15 minutes, I think we shall meet there.
All right, okay.
So
so you're heading to the police station. Okay, we'll call you later for details. But before you go, you found a house help, but your son is still missing, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so we have the photo of your son on our screens now. Can you just tell our audience which number they can call if they find your son?
Okay. 027 3062 898.
Can you please go over it again?
027 3062 898.
All right, thank you very much for the updates. And the number again is 027 278 062 898. So we'll touch base with the family again with Alexander Boateng. That's the father of this missing child. And the news is that his house help, Grace Sarkodie, picked up their son from the Silicon Valley School at Toyarifa and had not returned home since yesterday. We're just picking news that Grace Sarkodie has been arrested. We're here to find out the details if she in any way has any hand in this missing child or this incident that occurred. You're watching Draw News Today with me, Bernice Abubedi. We'll take a quick break. Emmanuel Abajiri is standing by with the latest in the world of business.